All right, let's jump right into this. We usually think that finding a huge stash of natural resources, like oil or gold, is like a country winning the lottery. But what if I told you that incredible stroke of luck can actually be a curse in disguise? Today, we're going to talk about a really fascinating economic puzzle called the Dutch disease.
I mean, it sounds totally backwards, right? A country hits the jackpot, and instead of prosperity for everybody, other key industries just start to wither and die. How is that impossible? Well, stick around, because the answer is a super interesting and kind of cautionary tale about the hidden dangers of getting rich too fast.
And this isn't some one-off, bizarre event. It's a real, well-known pattern that economists call the resource curse. It's this wild paradox where finding immense wealth can actually lead to economic trouble. And the most famous example of this curse has its own specific diagnosis, which we're about to get into.
So just think about it for a second. Your country discovers a gigantic gas field. You'd expect factories to ramp up, jobs to be everywhere. But nope, often the exact opposite happens. The manufacturing sector, the farming sector, the very backbone of the economy, they actually start to shrink. They just can't compete anymore, and the whole nation becomes dangerously hooked on that one single thing.
So why on earth is it called Dutch disease? Well, for that, we've got to hop in a time machine and head back to the Netherlands in the 1960s.
It all kicked off in the 60s, when the Dutch hit the jackpot, one of the biggest natural gas fields in the world. By the early 70s, money was just pouring into the country from gas exports. But economists started noticing something weird happening under the surface. And by 1977, the magazine The Economist gave this strange economic sickness a name: Dutch disease.
And that's the heart of it right there. It's an economic problem where the success of one part of the economy accidentally poisons the others. It's like one giant plant in a garden that sucks up all the water and sunlight, leaving all the other little plants to wither away. So, how does this actually work? What are the mechanics behind this whole paradox? Well, it really just boils down to two main symptoms.
First up, we've got the exchange rate effect. That's all about the value of your country's money. And second, there's the resource reallocation effect, which is basically about where all the talent and investment cash ends up. Let's break them both down.
Okay, symptom number one. When a country starts selling tons and tons of, say, natural gas, other countries have to buy that nation's currency to pay for it. All that demand makes the local money way more valuable. Now, on the surface, a strong currency sounds awesome, right? But here's the catch. It has a major hidden downside.
Let's trace this out. As your currency gets stronger, everything else you sell to the world, your cars, your flowers, your food, all of a sudden gets way more expensive for other people to buy. So those Dutch tulips or Nigerian textiles, they get priced right out of the market. And when sales drop, those industries start to shrink.
Now for the second symptom, which happens right inside the country's own borders. When one industry is making just absolutely insane profits, it basically becomes a giant magnet for all the country's smart people and all its investment money. You can see what happens pretty clearly here. Both money and people get pulled out of traditional industries like manufacturing and farming and get poured into that one booming resource sector. I mean, why would you go work on a farm when you can make way more money in the oil fields? The result is that these other crucial sectors are just starved of the people and the cash they need to innovate and grow.
And make no mistake, this isn't just some old historical thing that happened in the Netherlands. This disease has been diagnosed in countries all over the world.
Take Nigeria, for instance. Finding massive oil reserves should have been an incredible blessing, but instead, it was a textbook case of Dutch disease. It hollowed out its once strong agricultural base and left the economy almost completely dependent on the wild ups and downs of oil prices. And you see a very similar story in Venezuela. For decades, the flood of oil money kept their currency incredibly strong. And because of that, it was practically impossible for any other industry to get off the ground and compete with the rest of the world. It created a really fragile, one-trick pony economy that was super vulnerable to shocks.
Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, you might be thinking a resource boom is just always a curse. But it doesn't have to be. There is an antidote. And for that, we need to look to Norway.
This is the absolute key. The oil isn't the problem. The gas isn't the problem. The problem, or the solution, is what you do with that sudden flood of cash. It's not about geology, it's about smart policy and having a plan for the future. You can really see the two different paths a country can take. On one side, you've got the path of decline we've been talking about. But on the other, you have the Norwegian path. See, when Norway found oil, they made a totally different choice. Instead of letting all that money flood their economy at once, they decided to save and invest it for the long haul.
So how'd they pull it off? It was pretty brilliant. They created what's called a sovereign wealth fund, basically a giant national savings account. And here's the genius move. They invested most of the oil money outside of Norway. This stopped their own currency from getting too strong and protected their other industries. It took incredible discipline not to just go on a wild spending spree, but instead to save that wealth for the future and to keep the economy stable.
And that really is the ultimate takeaway here. Finding a valuable resource is like a country getting a big test. It's a test of discipline, of foresight, of good government. The Dutch disease isn't a destiny. It's the result of choices.
So this leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This idea isn't just about oil and gas anymore. In today's world, a booming resource could be a dominant tech sector, or a flood of foreign investment, or even tourism. So think about your own economy. What's the one thing that's booming? And is that boom lifting up the whole country? Or is it maybe, just maybe, quietly starving everything else? The answer might just surprise you.